What does it take to get your attention to transition into being great? How much work or how many things need to happen before your attention is grabbed? How are you today? My name is Latasha Martin, and I am excited about being here today. This is day 2 for us, Ignite Your Great, where I'm reintroducing my brand. And I want to share with you that I am so excited to be at this season in my life where I am living the dream and I am enjoying the ride. And so, as I mentioned yesterday, I talked to you about, I was going to share with you this whole thing of how I had this revelation for this legacy living, meaning that I believe this is the work I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life. And I'm so excited about that. And my mission personally is transition. It is helping people, equipping them with either experiences and coaching or just one on one conversations on how to be great. And even for those who believe that they're living a great life, as I mentioned yesterday, if you're not in a community of accountability, I promise you that you're probably not stretching your greatness factor. There's probably more in store for you. And I know there is for me as well. I'm just a guide, I'm just a coach, and there's just this revelation that I've had over a time frame. And I wanted to talk to you today about what does it take to get your attention. And what do I mean by attention? What I mean by attention is that it's not something that you have a situation that happens and then you revert back to old behavior. I mean, it is devastating. It is one of those monumental moments that it gets your attention and you're saying, uh-oh, I don't know how I got myself here. However, what I do know is that what got me here or whatever put me in this place, I no longer want that. And when I think about the reasons that people actually change and they're proactive with their changes, it happens for one or two reasons. The first reason is you've been intentional. Maybe you've been using some other pieces of the process that we're going to talk about over the next during the season right now, and you've been using some of those things. So you've been intentional, you've been curious, and you've been saying I want more. And I really feel like that's been my journey since I left my last corporate job 8.5 years ago, is that I was intentional and I was seeking God and I was saying, where I'm at is good. It really is good. And quite frankly, even in my business over the last 8.5 years, I have to say, if I had to summarize it all, I would say that it was good. But it wasn't until I hit this monumental half a century, 50 years old, where I had declared some things. I did a great virtual celebration. It was amazing. And I had all these hopes and all these desires and all these things that I was calling out. And I just knew for sure that 50 was going to be something. And it was just the opposite. It was completely the opposite, if I had to be honest. And so when I was approaching my 51st birthday, I was even more intentional because I was at a time stamp in my life where I said, okay, playtime is over. At least it's over for me. And I wanted to intentionally hear the voice of God and do something in radical obedience. But I have to be honest with y'all. I was nervous. I was nervous because I would get confirming words. I would get dangled distractions, but I realized now those were all developmental things to get me on track. And I learned some things. And it wasn't until when I was 51, the first spark of intentionality, meaning that I took action to make myself and my solitude and me seeking him go deeper, was on my birthday. It was a different type of birthday. I actually have no pictures. I was just reaching out to somebody because they hosted the event. And I went to this event. And while I was in attendance there, it was almost like because I had no distractions, even though I was with a group of women, I had no distractions, meaning that I couldn't use my laptop, I couldn't use my cell phone. And I had some time where I wanted to follow that, but it fell on my birthday. Like the event fell exactly on my birthday. And even when I got the notification and I knew it was on my birthday, I was excited about that because I was like, oh my goodness, like what a great gift. I'm going to this event and I have to intentionally make myself a priority because all of the rules say we can't have cell phones, we can't have laptops, we can't have anything. I paid a little extra because I wanted my own room and I really wanted to seek God's face. And through that experience, I did not realize the burdens and the heaviness of a lot of things I had been carrying. but it was a very emotionally charging experience for me. And I was transformed to a level that I don't think I've ever experienced before because there were no distractors. There was one person a couple of people that I knew, but they didn't really know me. And so I was able to be authentic. I was able to have some conversations with God. I didn't do some of the social things on purpose because I wanted that solitude to really hear from Him, for Him to speak to my heart space. And there was a couple of exercises that we did during that experience. The first one was we had to like throw some stuff away into some water. Like you could either hold on to it or like throw it away. And I chose to throw it away. And I didn't realize that how one kinetic activity, meaning like one kinesthetic thing, me actually taking action and moving my body in a certain way, would have such a deep intrinsic emotional thing for me. And at that point in the journey for that exercise, I literally put my hood on and I started weeping. Like I was just weeping and I was crying, and it was like a release. And I was so ashamed because I was like, oh my goodness, like I don't want anybody to see me tripping like this, because I was going through so much. Like emotionally, it was just taking me to a place. And so I went through that experience. And then I intentionally, when I left that experience, I didn't have things planned on my schedule because on the drive back, I wanted to reflect on this experience and I didn't want it to be something temporal. And one thing I do have to mention about a lot of these great programs, even if you go to conferences, there's a key piece that I think is missing. And it's that, how do you re-enter? And I learned that approach from Megan Ellis way back when I was facilitating this session. And I thought it was so rich that they had this one element in that program. And it is preparing to re-enter into your life. And I was actually working with a coach before I left my last job, and he explained this scenario where you change, but like nobody knows because it's a mental change and you're trying to have your behaviors change, but like nobody knows how much you've been transformed from the inside because it's not evident on the outside. It's an internal decision. And so when I drove back from that experience, I journaled and I journaled and I journaled and I wrote some serious stuff about who I was and what I wanted to be. And I really was saying to myself, because I had done it before, I knew that when my son was a freshman in high school, I said, you know what, in 4 years, when he graduates, my business will be in a place where I'll be mobile and global. The only thing, and I always tell people this, the only thing that I never have put a priority on, and it's different this time for me, is like, what is a profitable goal that I want also? So like, all of the things that I wrote on that board, they have all come to pass, which I think is amazing and awesome, which is within those 4 years when he was ready to graduate, we were mobile and global and things were good. So I was like, thank you. Thank you, God. I appreciate that. But this time in May, this past May, I just had an experience and I said, I don't want to lose this. Now, there were some things that I also learned, like God was speaking to me because every single day I would spend time with God. And it was some things that I was attached to. And I was reminded of scriptures that says, like, you can't put new wine in old skin, because why? It's not strong enough to hold like the all the things that's going to happen when you go to this next level. And so for me, one of the things I had to surrender was, and if anyone knows me, I love the color red. Y'all, listen, I had all kinds of justification for the red. The red symbolized the blood, and it was all the things. And God was like, I need you to disband your brand. And I was like, what? No. Like, I didn't have to give up the name, and my ear things are always coming out. Like, I didn't have to give up the name Von Swy because that represents my mom and my dad, but my identity connected to red. Because, like, for as long as I've known, like, red has been the color. I even knew the color. It was like CC00 something. Like, I used to know the hex code and everything because it was a specific red. He said, you're going to get rid of that. And I said, get rid of that? And he said, yes. And now I have to back up a little bit. And I'm sorry for if you're not trekking with me on the journey here. But like when I first left my job, the only thing God told me was, he said, I want you to obey me and do not hustle. He still hasn't deviated from that. But the way that he had me do it was he showed me how I would do ministry work and I would do profitable work. Like there was for-profit work and there was ministry work, and that line of demarcation, it worked for me, y'all. Like, don't y'all love when God speaks to you? Put a number one in the comments, and I know if you're listening to this on YouTube, you might have to come back to this, but put a number one in the comment when you love that God gives you the clarity. And I understood what was ministry and I understood what was business, and I was good in that space, meaning that if God said this is a ministry thing, then I wouldn't necessarily charge my business prices. Not all, again, I'm not saying it was giveaway, but it was just, I was good with that. And it wasn't until I turned 51, he said, okay, now you're ready. And I was like, ready for what? And it's single focus. And I was like, what does that mean? It was like all these encrypted messages from going through these two things. I had to give up my brand. I had to start saying no to things. And then an opportunity presented itself. Now let me take y'all back to this opportunity. Now this opportunity did not come to me because I was looking for that opportunity, but I was in a place with my walk where I was saying, God, well, if you want me to do a single thing and it's time for me to re-enter corporate America, I'm good with that. No problem. Just send me the job, because I've always gotten jobs in weird ways. I always say that God like gave me like amazing jobs in times where it shouldn't happen. So I knew if he wanted me to get a job, he was going to send it my way. So there was one particular person, she kept talking to me and saying, you know what, you would be perfect for this work. And I was like, no, I'm not, because I don't have the certification for that. I wanted that certification. I could never find the time where it made sense financially for me to invest that much in myself to get that certification. So fast forward, the opportunity came together and I was in the midst of getting the certification. And this is what God said, because I was like, okay, y'all, this is the answer right here. God was like, this is good, but I have great. I was like, this is good, but you have great. Now, mind you, at this point, I am saying, yes, I am excited. I have shared with my secret core about this amazing opportunity. Me and my husband, we're putting together like the retirement plan, because this particular opportunity would have in 3 years put us financially in a place where like everything would be Gucci for him to walk away. And if y'all know my husband, he is one of the hardest working men like ever. Like he is always working. If you come to the house or you see me out by myself, because he's probably sleeping or working. That's it. That's all he does. Sleep, work. And I love that about him. But in this particular situation, I was like, ooh, it's going to change. Everything is good. So he was excited. I was excited. And literally, as I was going through the certification in my quiet time, God was like, this is good, but I have great. And I'm like, I don't know what that means, but this is looking pretty good to me. Like, this is good to me. Well, a week went by, nothing happened. 2 weeks went by after that certification, nothing happened. 3 weeks went by, and now I'm like, oh my goodness. Like I had said no to all my other clients. Like that was the stream. I had freed myself for that opportunity. And I was like, this is it. And then I was reminded in this small, still voice, he was like, no, this is good, but I have great. So I'm like, okay. But in my natural self, and I'm just being honest with y'all, in my natural self, I said, I see what you're saying. And this is what happens with believers. And this is why sometimes it's hard for us to publicly walk out our faith, because what we do is sometimes, I'm saying me, I ain't saying anybody, I'm saying my experiences with believers and even my own journey as a believer is sometimes what we do is we find the scripture that co-signs with our dysfunction and our lack of faith. Let me tell you what that meant for me at that season. I was like, God, I thought that was the answer. I thought that you wanted me to have a single focus, and he did, and he does. And I thought that that was the solution. But what I know in my faith is that if I can do it, if I can plan for it, it's probably not God, because that's not how God works in my life. And so I started to seek out opportunities and call up some people and say yes to people who had things coming up. And I was doing that. And my answer, my rationale was, God, I know you're going to present it to me, but I'm not fully understanding what it is. Like, I don't know what it is that you would have me to do. So in my little walkout and in the things that I was doing, in my coming, in my going, in my tarrying, hey, Anna, good to see you. In my coming, in my going, in my tarrying, my justification was faith without works is dead. That's That's what I was saying, y'all. And I was saying to myself, that must not have been God. That must have been a distraction. But what I've realized is I'm stopped giving the enemy things. I'm saying, God, let that happen. You know why? Because first step in the process of being great is he needs to awaken you. And for me, because I have a quick bounce back factor, he needed to rock my world publicly. Let me put that out there publicly. And so I thought I was good. I wasn't really sure what was happening. And so little things were trickling in. However, fast forward in the process of me just waiting on the Lord, he gave me this concept in August. And it was August 12th. It was my daughter's birthday because I wrote it on a whiteboard. And he said, "You're going to help people be great." And I was like, okay, I'm going to write that down. I don't know what that means. But he was like, "You're going to help people be great." So I'm thinking that's what it is. I don't know what that's going to look like. Still have no clue. And I'm still like trying to rebound from that previous opportunity that was going to put me and my husband financially in a great space, right? So then on August 16th, these dates are important. On August 16th, the first thing where I went through that certification, they came at me with a part-time project, which was perfect. Why was it perfect? It was perfect because I had started saying yes to other work, and I don't like to overcommit myself. I'm just at this season, I ain't down for the hustle. All y'all think I'm so busy. No, I'm intentional and I'm selfish with my time and my calendar, but I'm not as busy as people think I am. But I'm intentional. I don't say yes to everything all the time anymore. And so I was like, this is a perfect fix. Like, I'll have that. I have these other projects. This is perfect. So then in the midst of me doing that, I'm just minding my own business. And I'm like, okay, God, you're going to show me the answer to what it means to help people and companies be great. And I didn't get the answer. I got the color. I got the logo, Ignite Your Great, the one y'all saw. I got the logo. I got the name, Ignite Your Great. But I still wasn't sure what did that look like for me. Because why? He still didn't have my attention. And if I had to be honest, he didn't have my attention because you know how God gives you an assignment sometimes and you're like, it can't be that. Like, that's too easy. And if I'm doing that and I'm just being that, how are we gonna pay these bills, y'all? Like that's the question I be having. Like, how are we gonna pay these bills? And I trust you, Lord, but I'm not 25 no more. I'm 51, which means at some point soon, I really do want to retire or just do stuff where I don't have to do anything but oversee, right? I can show up and do the elements that I want. I don't think I'll ever retire from my work because I love the stuff I do, but I want to function differently. Let's just put it that way. Function differently. And so I'm minding my own business. I'm doing this stuff and I'm seeking him. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get 2 phone calls in the same day about an opportunity. And I'm like, this is crazy. Wasn't looking for this. But maybe you are telling me to go get a job, God, because this time you're telling me to go get a job. And so these people are calling for an actual job now. And I'm like, okay. So I prepare for this opportunity. I'm going through this process. It's an executive level search. So in my brain, I'm just like, I've never done this before. So I'm just going through it. Mind you, I'm too busy to even think about how crazy this whole experience is. But then the Monday before I got the decision, I literally texted a friend and I texted that friend what God told me, because once we got to the point of, the decision, I guess it was down to just a couple of people. And I don't want to be one of those believers. Y'all ever know those believers that no matter what happens, they justify it? Well, this is what, God's will was, whatever. No, I wanted that. Like, I wanted that. And I was saying, I'm seeking you, God, every day. And you're going to give me the desires of my heart. And right now, this is that. Like, that's what I thought in my flesh, right? So perfect. So I text my friend on purpose that Monday. And the text that God gave me in my quiet time is, I make you great. Nobody, no decision, no nothing else. I make you great and I need you to trust me. And I was like, okay, I'm going to text it to a friend because what I don't want to do, but I'm going to get this job. Like, this is it, right? It wasn't the money. It was the opportunity, I thought. So fast forward a couple of days, I get the decision. Now, mind you, I'm really sitting there saying to myself, like, okay, Latasha, like, this is going to work out fine. Again, excited for my husband. In the meantime, let me tell y'all. Okay, listen, this is the crazy part. Let me throw this part in because I don't think nobody knows this. In the meantime, because I was so sure, anybody ever been so sure? Give me a number one if you felt like you was so sure. Like I was so sure this was happening that I was telling my husband definitively this is happening. Now, I done told y'all already all my husband does is go to work and be a great dad and a great husband. That's what he does. He goes to work, whatever. So he decides to surprise me with an early anniversary gift because I have been looking like my car was 11 years old and had its own personality. We had a good relationship. It was squeaking and creaking, and like I knew I was one repair and it was man down. Like I would go to the dealerships and I had looked all over from here, hours away, everywhere I would go. I would look and drive cars, and there was this one combination of a vehicle that I wanted, and I was like, when I went to the dealer, they're like, "Oh, we rarely get those in." So I was thinking, I'm good. Like I'm good. That it ain't gonna happen because I'm good, right? And in my mind, my husband, I was like, plus. I always had this theory, like if we get the car, whatever. But I just told him about it, but I wasn't anxious because in my mind, logically, I said, even if he wanted to surprise me, there's no way he would make that decision without we knowing that I had this job. Because even though he might want to do something, like we gonna talk about this. That's what I'm thinking, right? So now it's down to the wire. Lo and behold, fast forward, my husband's he's like, we gonna get this car. So now we got the car, God. And I'm like, well, God, you wouldn't give me the car without the job. That's what I'm thinking. Are y'all following me here? And I'm glad I'm not crying because I'm laughing because I'm so like logical. Because I'm like, my God wouldn't do this, right? We be making all the kinds of cliches. Like you wouldn't put me here and do this to me, right? And I had even declared, y'all, I said September is the last month that we sitting up there hand to foot, check to check, because I am trusting you, God, but we need to change some stuff financially because that's just what's going down in my life. That's the way I'm looking at it, right? So I get the decision, y'all, and I do not get the job. I don't get the job. Now, you have to know me to know my rebound factor when stuff does not happen my way is usually really quick. And I was telling my friend yesterday, I said, I do not want to do this live about what God has to do to open you up to obey to your assignment when it's so great. Because I said I'm a breakdown, and I think I'm doing pretty good, y'all. I cried for 7 days. I cried every single day. Every time I thought about that, I said, God, why are you playing with my emotions? Like, for real. I'm like, why are you playing with my emotions? Like, I like this time, I can't even think in my whole since 14 years old of a time when I wanted a job. I wanted that job, y'all. I wanted it. And what I realized is I had to like go into this place where I was like, I couldn't even talk to people about it. Like I would just be like, okay, I didn't want to talk about it. People were feeling bad. And I literally, like, because I know God is so faithful, every day I would cry, like I would literally cry like I was losing my brain. And then I would be like, I'm mad at myself for crying because I'm like, God, you told me before the decision was made that you make me great. And that you told me before that you had greater. And what I know is that you're like, you don't lie. Like, that's not who I serve. You do not lie. Yo, I was in such a dark place. I was like, I, I even went to this scripture. There's a scripture in the Bible. There's a story in the Bible where there's a woman who had prepared a room for the prophet, and she didn't have children, and he gave her a child, and then the child dies, and she goes back to him and said, I didn't even ask you for it. Like in my mind, I was like, I wasn't asking for a job. I was asking you since May on my birthday. I was asking you to just give me clarity of what's next because I want to surrender and be all out for you. Like, I want you to bless me to the level where the work I'm doing, the stuff that I touch is so great that people can't even think of it with Latasha. They got to have some kind of faith in something bigger than a person because how could it happen for Latasha? So it has to be something different. When I tell you that stuff beat me up, I had to like literally say, okay, like God, I give up. Like that's where I was, y'all. I was like, I give up. I would sit in this dark room and I would cry. I went to the chiropractor and I'm crying to him because he's such a nice person. Everywhere I had like a little intimacy, I would have these breakdowns with people that I knew. And I was just like, God, I just don't get it. Like if you were trying to get my attention, if you were trying to get my attention, you have my attention now. And for some of y'all going through this reactive thing with God, right? Y'all playing this ping pong game. Y'all justifying scriptures. And it really does tick me off. I need to say that, right? Because then people are trying to give me the godly things. And then they're trying to give me like advice. And then people feeling bad about that. And I said, in my head, I had nothing to say. Because every time I would say something, I would just cry. Like that was one of the few times, like the pastor's wife said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I am not okay," and I just started crying. Like I was telling people, "I am not okay." And so I really did get stripped down to like on my face and just saying, like, God, now I'm in this new car. Listen, I probably put 1,000 miles on that car. I was driving around like, God, like, I don't even know what we're doing here. But if this is a joke, there used to be a show on MTV talking about, am I being punked right now? Because that's what I felt like. But then I remember what I had declared in September, y'all. This is where the good news comes in on this first thing of the awakening, right? I said, I need to feel this way. I need to feel that even when I tell this story that I break down and cry and talk about what it took for him to get my attention, to surrender to my purpose, my calling, my work, and that is helping people be great. I'm not even overcomplicating that. Like, that's what it is. Helping people be great. Whether you're a leader, you're an individual, you're a mother, whatever that is, like, I'm just going to help you be great. Because I know that now there is a process in this. And I know the first step in the process is he needs to get your attention to a place that every time you revisit and want to be disobedient, y'all, every time you want to be disobedient, he brings you back to that wound that has not healed. Because I'm being honest with y'all, when they announced a new person, I was like, I'm happy for her. I'm not even jealous. I'm just saying, God, what in the what, right? Like, that's what I'm saying. And he's like, but you have your assignment, Latasha. Do you know how many people struggle to get the answer for what their work is, to connect their profession to their purpose, to be profitable? And then this is the thing he had to remind me, like when we did our bills in October, y'all. Now, mind you, like when we did our bills in November, because that's when it became real to me. October was good. I said, November is coming. When November came, y'all, nothing else had changed other than me saying yes half-heartedly. Like I had said yes with the branding. I said yes to the stuff, but I still wasn't talking to nobody. And thank God, I thank you, Philip, for being here. That's one of my accountability people, like one of the strongest ones. And he was like, we gonna do this thing called Vlogmas. And I said, hey, what? And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do on because all I'm doing is helping people be great. And if you know me, I am a planner and a preparer. I ain't prepared nothing. Because he was like, yeah, Latasha, it's time. It's game time. It's game time for you to help people be great. Like, you need to start saying it. You need to start sharing it. You need to start making it a part of your being. Of you just tell people what you believe, which is you are living the dream and you are enjoying the ride, and your mission is transition to help people get to greater. You're going to have these experiences. You're going to have this community, and I can see it and I can touch it and I can feel it. Like, there are going to be people who are taken to levels, and they are going to have communities of people that can celebrate the newness in their great. Because this is what I know. It's lonely trying to be something different, because why? We get so used to making our dysfunction functional that we don't even realize we need a change. God has made our bodies so amazing, and our minds. Like our mind, it be playing tricks on us. And I know I quote this all the time. It's from the Ghetto Boys when I was listening to the rap music. He said, my mind's playing tricks on me. And it does, because we wake up daily and then at the end we feel defeated because we're not doing what we were destined to do. Because why? Because when we try it, the communities that we're in, they tolerate and say, oh, there they go again with that great, brilliant idea. But they don't realize that you are ready for a change because you have been rocked to the place where there is no other way than others saying yes. Another thing you got to learn is that when you say yes in this awakening season, there were things that happened to me. Once I started saying yes in November, listen, y'all, I'm being honest, telling all my business today. In November, we had paid all of our bills and had a surplus earlier in the month, and nothing changed other than I said yes to the assignment. Does somebody need to hear that in the back of the church? In November, when we paid our bills, all the bills were paid, including the new car note. And it was an overflow because I said yes. So then every time I start to get nervous in the natural, I have to remember that if I'm trusting the supernatural, I got to remember and look at the womb. I got to look at how I felt, because I can still bring up those emotions on how I felt, how embarrassed I was, and all the things that I wanted. And God was like, I will give you a platform. I will put you in front of places. I will open doors that no man can close. I will help you walk out that you're more than a conqueror. And people will see it and they will experience it. And as you being a conduit to them being it, not only are you going to help them get there, but you're going to help them sustain that, because you're going to have that community and accountability. Now, I mentioned to you guys before that I was going to make more sense today, and I am, because what it is a process, and I'm going to actually put it up on the screen, and I'm doing something that's like at the same time. So this is the process of the Ignite Your Great. The first step is this awakening. That's what we're talking about today. This awakening, this thing that happens where you have an experience where you're so woke that you're like, ooh, this ain't that. Like, this ain't where I'm trying to go. The next thing is, after you awake, you need to be curious, not mad, not emotional, just curious. And we'll talk about what that is at a later time. Then we do need to have a plan. A lot of people quote Habakkuk 2:2 where it says, write the vision and make it plain, but they don't realize that when they read that whole process, or if you look at how God works, there is always a plan. He is a planner. Random faith gets you random results. That ain't God. That is not important. That is not intentional. Like the song, that's not intentional. And then after you have that plan, then you need to align your habits to connect to the missional life, not the goal, to the missional life. Because I promise you, if you write these things down, you will say to yourself, wow, like I can start something today. For me, I knew if I'm going to be working with all these people running all over the world and flying all over the world, me and my husband, I knew I need to get my tempo right. So I started walking again. I started walking again weeks ago because I needed it when I was sitting up there crying. I would walk in the mall because it's dark and I could just walk by myself and talk and do with all the things with the senior citizens. And so you have to create habits that align, and then you need that accountability and community. You need more than one person, because guess what? If you're down for the count, other people might not be, that one person might not be available. So you might need some other people to tap into. And so this process of igniting your great. I am so sold out for Jesus, and I know it's going to be great. Thank you so much, Kristen. I think it's so amazing what God is showing. But as I mentioned to you yesterday, and I'm going to say it today, and I'm actually going back into my system to change it. Like right now, even in the craziness of this right now, what he's telling me is, and you know what you're going to do to help people be great? They literally can go to Latasha1159.59/connect and sign up for the session with me. Now, yesterday I talked about it was $10. It's $0. I'm going to change it. It's pay whatever you feel like it. Whatever you think you want, then you go ahead and do it. And if that's $0, then that's fine. Because I understand that it's not going to be the things that I can see that's going to take me to my millions. It's going to be those things in my faithfulness and obedience that he's going to open up doors that no man can shut, because for the work I have to do, it takes resources, AKA money. And he's going to provide it like he already has started and will continue to do. And so I just wanted to share this with you today, this first step in the process of how do you ignite your great? Like, what does it take to ignite your great? What I also am asking for is if you could go to my YouTube channel at Latasha Martin, if you could go to that YouTube channel and subscribe and like, because the videos that I do live are one format, but like if you go back tomorrow, you ain't got to listen to the whole video. Just go to timestamp 1540 and just get a little giggle for yourself. You don't have to watch the whole video. You just watch that little section, but I'm taking these videos and I'm breaking them down. So today, because this one's longer, it might be 2 days of my Vlogmas instead of just one. Part one might go into one part of the journey, then I'll find a good place to stop it, and then there'll be another segment. So there'll be 2 YouTube videos from the content today. Why? Because I know people's attention span ain't that long, and I really do want to be helpful, not hurtful. And so I am excited to work with whomever. If you know anybody that is struggling to authentically say, I need communities where people can connect with me. But before you get into this community, I'm telling you, it's different this time, y'all. There is an entryway, meaning that you need to show yourself. You need to apply. All people just can't be in this space because it's going to be a sacred place where there are things that are not going to be tolerated. We are going to live out what God is really saying, what the word of God really says, and we're going to believe it. It's not but, and it is so. Whatever it says, it is so. And so I'm excited about it. If you're excited about it, I would love to see you take up one of these time slots with me. Just click on that link at latasha115959.com/connect. Set up a quick session with me. It's going to be around 30 minutes, up to 30 minutes, because I do want to have some, we want to have some margin in time. There's 4 people, 4 slots for each of the time slots on the days when I have that open. And again, you pay what you want. And if you show up, that's great. If you don't show up, that's great. That's fine too, because that means it wasn't supposed to happen. But what I know for sure is there are going to be lives that are transformed. There's going to be things that happen because I know I'm in a space now where I do feel like I know what it is. I know the assignment. What's that kid say? I know the assignment. I know the assignment. And I'm saying yes to it. Unapologetically, holistically, every being of me is saying yes to it. And so thank you so much for those of you who have joined today. And for those who are going to listen on the replay on the YouTube channel, but I will ask that you go to that channel and like and subscribe. And then you'll see that there's going to be a playlist that says Ignite Your Great. And that's going to be the stuff that we're doing for the time that we're together for this month. So thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. I'm glad I didn't break down too much, too long, for too much. But I'm also excited that I got 2 days of content done, y'all. 2 days of content. 2 days of content. And I'm looking for somebody. I know I said this, but I'm believing God for this. I want a jingle because there's like a mantra. It says, I'm not going to share that today. I'm going to share it tomorrow. There's a little mantra that God has, and I really want some music to go with it because if you are here igniting your great, you're going to need to have some like war music that can remind you sometimes. And so there is a whole little jingle or a saying that we're going to say if you're on this greatness journey with me and in the greatness community, and I'm excited for it. So thank you for joining. God bless you so much. Thank you for your patience, and I'll see you again tomorrow. God bless and have a great day. Bye-bye.